Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the CIVIVI Praxis. For those of you that don't know, CIVIVI is the sister company to We Knives. Basically, CIVIVI is kind of the more budget line. There's a lot of good stuff coming out from CIVIVI, and this is no exception. So let's take a look at what's good and what's bad, and we're going to get right into the technical specs. All right, guys, here's all the technical specs that I care about, just the basic stuff here. What you got going on with the Praxis is a flat ground drop point blade, 3.75 inches overall, blade steel of 9CR18 MOV, blade thickness of 11 millimeters, or I'm sorry, 0.11 inches or just under 3 millimeters, 4.42 ounce weight. It's G10 handle scales and stainless steel liner lock, manual flipper on stainless steel bearings, and pocket clip is right or left hand tip up only carry. So with all this out of the way, we are going to take a look at the blade and what I do and don't like. All right, guys, so we're going to take a look at the blade here first. A lot of my gripes or concerns about this knife is not on the blade. So pretty much everything that's going on here I like. Blade length is a little big for typically what I like to carry, just around. 3.75 isn't overly huge, but as I've started, collecting more and more, generally I find myself in that 3.5 or less range, but this is still pretty good. It might look a little bit larger than it is just because the blade is so broad, but that does help in one way. The blade thickness is not thick. I mean, it's pretty standard stuff, hanging right around that 3 millimeters. It seems like it's thinner, and kind of what I mean by that is since the blade is so broad, you get that grind, that flat grind starting from pretty high up on the blade. And this thing, I don't really know if I'll be able to capture it, but this thing is super thin at the edge. That's one thing that I love about the blade here. Super thin at the edge. It slices really well. Even towards the tip, it gets pretty thin. You get a really good tip. Finger choil, which feels a little weird because it is so thin, but it still works. Kind of no complaints there, really. I like the way the blade looks. It's just kind of a really broad looking drop point blade. It's got the swedge on the top. I like it. Jimping here, I could care less, or I couldn't care less. It feels a little rounded, so you don't really get the grip that you feel like you should, but it's there nonetheless. I mean, it can't really detract from the grip, so there's that. The 9CR18 MOV blade steel, it's not bad. I mean, it's kind of what I would expect out of this price range. Maybe a hair better than 8CR, so it's easy to sharpen. It holds a decent edge. It takes a pretty fine edge. Which coupled together with the super thin cutting edge and the nice grind makes it really nice to use. And with the finger choil too, that helps with having a larger blade. One gripe that I do have, other than the mild jimping here, is the flipper tab. Just the way the shape of it can be a little uncomfortable. One thing that I'll elaborate a little bit more on towards the action side of it is the blade has a pretty stiff detent, which I don't care about. I mean, I like that it has a stiffer detent, but right where you see that corner there, and this is at least just for me, I don't know if this is necessarily going to be for any of your other guys' fingers, but that corner is right where I put the softer part of my finger. So when I do flip it, it can be a little uncomfortable. Generally not, but if this is going to be a knife that you're thinking you're going to, just sit on the couch and flip and do whatever, it's not the best choice. The plus side of that whole thing is the flipper tab works really well. You got the same thing going on with the the jimping there, where it's not crazy, but the shape of it, still you're able to get a good handle on it and flip the blade open. So flipper tab can be a little uncomfortable. Other than that, I don't really have really big complaints on the blade, just picky stuff like that. But all in all, I really like the blade shape, the way that it was executed in terms of the grind, the primary edge here. I think it was done really well. So getting blade out of the way, now we're going to talk about the handle. All right, guys, so moving on to the handle. I got a couple gripes on the handle here. It's not so crazy. Again, some of this stuff is just going to be me being a little bit picky. We'll start off with the handle scales. I like them. It's G10. It's not super coarse. Beveled on the or chamfered on the outside edges here, and I think the design of the handle looks great. Feels good in hand, so you get a really solid grip on it, just because the knife's a little bit bigger. Design helps a little bit. Your two front fingers fall into the little choils here, and then that nice little end part for the last two. You get a really good solid grip on it. It feels good in hand. The pocket clip can be a little bit of a hot spot there. You can see where that front lip protrudes out a little bit. And then while we're here talking on the pocket clip, now generally I don't really expect anything crazy from pocket clips, but I feel like it looks a little out of place. It looks and feels a little cheap. But like I said, I don't really know if I was expecting a whole lot. It does work. I mean, that's one of the pluses. It does work really well. You can see there, your pants will, drop right to the bottom of the pocket clip, no problem, even though the screws aren't recessed. There's still plenty of space there. I just, on a knife like this, which looks, kind of nice, honestly, I felt like the pocket clip looked a little out of place. Kind of gets a pass a little bit because like I said, it works well. You got backspacer, G10 backspacer, so I like that. It's not cheapy, it's not plasticky, whatever. The lanyard hole is nice, integrated into the design there. It looks natural. It doesn't look like it was forced into the design to work. So I like that. One of the major gripes that I have about this knife in the handle, just even in general, is the gold, the stainless steel, the gold liners. This is going to sound a little weird, but I think some of you will know what I'm talking about when I say this. I feel like if it was just normal satin stainless steel, I feel like I would take the knife a little bit more seriously. And it's not, I'm not saying that I don't necessarily like it. I'm really torn on it. I like the color scheme. So I like the black and gold. I think those are two colors that go together really well. This is, in my opinion, the only configuration of this knife where that works. I know they have like a lighter green or like an OD green G10. And then they have another color, I want to say too. It's like a light tan, I believe it is. Like a tan and an OD that also have this gold. The tan one's not so bad. The OD looks... I don't like that color combo. If it was just all stainless all across the board, I feel like I would like that better. It's more consistent. It doesn't look as funky. And like I said, as weird as it sounds, I feel like I would take this knife a little bit more seriously if it was just satin stainless steel. No no weird color or anything. Good part about the liners is they are skeletonized pretty well. That's what helps it keep that lower weight despite the knife being a little bit on the large side. 4.4 ounces is not bad for a 3.7-inch blade and a full handle. The handle, like I said, it's pretty comfortable, and you get a very good full hand grip on it. Like I said, sometimes you can kind of feel the little lip there on the pocket clip, but it doesn't seem to be all the time, and it's more of an afterthought rather than something you notice right away. You got the 2 body screws and pivot holding the knife together. Looks pretty simple in design. One thing that I do like is they put the logo on the show side of the pivot here. And if you didn't already notice, this is something I should have mentioned on the blade portion, the blade is virtually free of any markings or branding. The only thing that is on the blade is right there. You can see the 9CR18 MOV if you look really closely at the base there. I really like that. It gives it a really clean look, but you still get the branding right there, the CIVIVI logo, which I think is awesome. It's perfect. You don't need all the frills and everything on the blade. Probably the biggest offender of that crime is ZT and Kershaw. They just blast every bit of information they need on the blade, and most of that stuff just isn't necessary. I do appreciate that on this. Like I said, you still get the branding, so you know what the knife, what company it's from, but the blade is virtually mark free, so gives it a really clean aesthetic. Other than that, I believe that's it for the handle. Now we're going to go into action and fit and finish. All right, guys, action, fit, and finish. Overall, I think is great. Action of the flipping is really good. Mine has a pretty stiff detent, which I like. It's not so hard that it's hard to flip. I did mention earlier about the flipper tab being a little uncomfortable. Part of that might be, honestly, because of the stiff detent. I'd say probably half and half design and half detent. If that was, less of a hard corner, it probably would be a little bit more enjoyable to flip all the time. But the bottom line, regardless, is the knife flips really well. So you don't have to think about it. You can light switch it, or you can push button it, and it shoots out pretty reliably. Lockup, not bad. Solid lockup. I'm not really one to do like the whole spine whack deal, but I'm pretty confident there's no blade play either way for mine. And blade is perfectly centered. I actually picked this up at Blade Show West in Portland earlier this year. And when I was at the We Knives CIVIVI booth, they actually let me, take a real good look at it and made sure that it was up to my standards before I purchased it, which I really appreciate. They made sure that, that there was no play. It flipped out fine. Everything looked good to me before I bought it. So as far as I'm concerned, the pretty good fit and finish for this price range. The knife was $40 at the show. On other websites, you'll find it for $42.95 will be the official pricing. I think all things considered, not bad. Machining everywhere is pretty spot on. Nothing looks funky. It's pretty even. No defects in the machining that I can see. I would say, probably 8.5 or 9 out of 10 if I was to rate the action and fit and finish. I think it could be improved on a little bit, and maybe I've just not fully broken it in yet, but not super crazy smooth. But that partially could be, because of that fat detent ball there pushing on the blade. But yeah, I like it. Everything as far as, the action is up to my standards, up to this price range, maybe a little bit more is still sufficient. After this fit and finish, now we're going to go into overall closing statements, and we'll shut it down. All right, guys, my overall and final comments on the knife. I like it. It's a really good blade, well worth the money. Like I said, $42.95. Performs as expected. It's nothing crazy. It fits the price. I like the design. I do find myself being a little torn about some aspects. Like I said, the gold I feel like is a little extra. The little bit of hot spot on the flipper tab. But, it's still nice. I still find myself carrying it. It's a little bit larger than I typically would carry just as an EDC, but because of the weight is well distributed, you don't really notice it like you would a typical larger blade. But yeah, I'd say it's a pickup. Right around the time that I'm recording this, it looks like they're sold out on Blade HQ. I would check other retailers. But yeah, so far I for my first example of a blade from CIVIVI, I like what I see. I plan on picking up a couple more and checking to see how consistent the quality is. Because if they can keep this up, keep putting out quality designs and keeping the quality as high as this and consistently at the prices they offer, I think they're going to be continue to grow and be a big player in the game. I know Wii is already popular, so they kind of already have a good platform going. So we'll see what this turns into. Like I said, look out for some more CIVIVI blades in the near future. And yeah, that's about it. That's the CIVIVI Praxis. So thank you guys for watching. Go ahead and drop a like and subscribe if you like the content. Keep up to date with all my videos. And with that out of the way, we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.